Welcome, I'm Captain Stromberg, and today I'm going to show you a few things using the Mindstorm EV3 for programming the EV3. First thing you want to do is load your program, and I always make sure that this is muted up here. If you don't have it muted, it makes a lot of noises with the robots moving, and it tends to get annoying, especially if you have a classroom full of a lot of kids. So I just go ahead and mute that. Once that's muted, I can go ahead and start a new project. It's very important to always make sure you go ahead and save your project right away. And I like to give it a simple short name because that way you don't run into problems with names being too long on the EV3 robot. And so I'm just going to call this team, and then I always give it the date. And I always do it in the computer science way of using the year first, then the month, and then the day. And go ahead and save that. Every time I come and open up the program, I'm going to go ahead and save it with the new date. That way if I go ahead and I make a mistake and I screw up my program today, I can always go back to yesterday or the day before's, open up that, and I'll have the code that was working. So I can go back and make sure that if I break something, I can go back to the good program. Over here, you can document your work. Right now, I'm just going to go ahead and minimize that. And this is the start block over here. This is where you build all your programs off of. Down at the bottom, we have the different blocks that we can use, and they're color-coded by section. And you have your action blocks, your flow control, your sensor, your data operations, your advanced, and your my blocks. In your action blocks, you have medium motors, large motors, moving steering, moving tank, display, sounds, and brick status lights. If we're looking at flow control, we have our start block, a wait block, a loop block, a switch, or a loop interrupter. Then we can go look at our sensor blocks, and this is the default pack for your home version of the EV3. So it's missing a couple of the sensors, and I'll show you how to add those later. But you got your brick buttons, your color sensor, your infrared sensor, your motor rotation, your timer, and your touch sensor. Very, very important section is data operations. And you've got variables, constants, array operations, logic operations, math blocks, rounding, compare, your range, text, and random. Here are your advanced blocks. We're not going to get into these too terribly much. And then your my blocks. These are some of your most important blocks, and you get to make them yourself, so they get to do whatever you want them to do. And that's the way of using repeatable code. For your computer programmer type people, these would be your subroutines that you can make. To make a program, you simply just grab the blocks you want and drag it up to the start block. So for just a really, really simple program today, we're just going to move a tank, and we're going to drag this block up there. You'll have options in all your blocks, and I'll go over all the blocks and what the options are in later videos. But for this move tank, you can choose on, off, on for seconds, on for degrees, or on for rotations. And today we're just going to have for on for rotations. You can set the speed of each motor, and this is using the B and C motor. And then here it's going to move for one rotation. We can change this, say if we want to go to 3 rotations. With here you have sliders, and you can go -100 to 100, which is backwards or forwards. You can also type numbers in here to get an exact value. And this last one is, do you want the motor to brake once it reaches its number of rotations? And you can either have it brake or have it coast once it comes to the end. If you're trying to do really exact stuff for your first Lego League, you're probably going to need it to brake on your way back. So we just have a simple program here with the start block, and we're having it move the tank, moving at 75 speed with both motors for 3 rotations, and then would stop. And from here, we could download this and run it to our robot. If I want to go ahead and look at available bricks, I'm just going to refresh to see what I've got using the Bluetooth. And it's searching for my robot. And there it is. So we're just going to connect via the Bluetooth. Looks like I have an update to the firmware. And we're not going to update that right now, so we'll just hit Not Now. But we are connected now. And so we can download this to the robot, or we can use this button to just download and run it to our robot. And that should just cause the robot to move ahead. Now, when we're all done, a few things we really should always do: save our project. And I'm going to talk a lot about documenting. It's very, very important to document. We're not going to do that right now because it's such a simple program, but I could show that you can add a comment using this little block here, and then you can type comments and stuff about your code to help you remember what you did. And of course, since I added a comment, I should save my project again. So that's your first introduction to programming with Mindstorm EV3. I'll have more lessons coming out soon. I hope this was helpful, and you'll come back and watch some more.